Hi, Tom Andrews here. I want to talk to you a little bit about bandsaw and bandsaw safety. This is my bandsaw, and I really like this bandsaw. One of the reasons I like it so much is it's not a toy. It's got a full 17 inches that you can rip between the column and the blade. And then as you come around here, you can cut a huge amount of resaw, which means that you're going to full saw almost like if you had a bandsaw and you were cutting trees up. And so you can imagine how much you can do with a machine that has this type of spacing between the blade and the column and this much room between the guide and the table. There's literally no log you can't put through there and use in your shop. It also has a huge motor that keeps this blade spinning. If you've never looked inside of a bandsaw before, it has an almost identical wheel down on the bottom. And so as these two wheels turn, they run the blade, which is like a band of steel, which is why it's called a bandsaw. And so this is how that works. You've got a set of guide wheels here that hold this blade from turning. One of the things you need to know about on a bandsaw is that the thicker that the blade is, or not the thicker, but the deeper that the blade is, the more pressure that you can put on it, like if you were what's called resawing, which is sawing something that might be maybe 8 or 10 inches tall. And so the taller, the depth of the blade increases its ability to withstand a cut that is 8 inches in length. And so lots and lots of power. When you're looking at bandsaws, make sure that you get the ball bearing wheels here. You can get some ceramic guides if you want to. I kind of like the plastic insert more than the aluminum one. It's just a little bit more resilient and it's cheaper, and you just pop new ones in there when you want it. The tension wheel is right here to apply tension to it. The thicker the blade is this way, the more tension that you can put on the blade. One of the problems, though, as you think about what blade it is that you're going to select, is that the depth of the blade, it makes it so you can't turn and cut those fancy angles that the bandsaw is so well known for. And so this blade right here is a 1/2 inch blade, and this bandsaw will take a 1 inch blade for really massive work, or you can put a 1 inch or 1/8 inch deep blade on it, and you can use it almost like a scroll saw. So it's a very, very flexible tool, even though it's just a real brute of a bandsaw. Another feature of this saw is that it has a really nice fence. And if you're going to use this to rip or to crosscut and use this fence as a guide, it is really a nice fence. And then, another great thing about it, if you don't want it tall, you can set it on here and you can use it this way so that it's a lot lower, and you can put both hands against that piece to handle it. So that is really just about as nice of a fence as you can find anywhere on the market. I'm going to do just a couple of cuts for you. First thing that we need to come to understand is that this guide needs to be not more than 1/2 an inch above the wood. So I'm going to cut this little scroll here, and so I want to go ahead and set the wood down, and I want to position the guide so that it is just about somewhere between 1/2 and a 1/4 of an inch above the workpiece. And sometimes your pinky finger is just a pretty good way to guess. And so anyway, I've got that now set. I've got the guide set, and I'm going to go ahead and make this cut. Now, one of the things that I coach people on often is that you want to leave the line when you're cutting on the bandsaw. You want to sand to the line and leave it there, and that's going to give you a lot more material to work with and shape. If you get just a little bit off the line and you start to chew into the black, then that's a problem. So leave yourself the margin and leave the line, and then go ahead and sand to the line. Let's say that you're going to make a pretty tight turn, and because this blade is very deep, it needs something called relief cuts. It just can't make that arc without twisting the blade. And if you twist the blade and bend it against these guide rollers, what happens is that where the teeth are, the back end of the tooth flexes and it causes a microfracture. And it might not break while you're using it, but it's very, very bad for the blade over time to torque it left and right. So the way to keep that from happening is to cut relief cuts on the wood. And I'm going to demonstrate that with you so that you can see it. And those, we're going to come in and make those cuts first before we make the arc. Just a couple of safety issues to keep in mind. Number one, if you have to push hard on your bandsaw, you've got a problem. Either you've got a dull blade or something's hooked underneath of it. So a lot of times when a chip goes through, it hangs up on that chip. Or it could be that you've got something jammed with some of these little pieces. The safety margin, again, in my shop is always 4 inches. And so if you think about keeping your hand 4 inches away, that's always, distance is safety. And so with those things in mind, just be careful when you use the bandsaw, because so many people think that a bandsaw is this really safe, fun tool, which it is. It's a fun tool, and you can do a lot of really cool stuff with it. But the bandsaw has more accidents than any other tool in the shop. Now, they're not as bad a lot of times as like a table saw accident. They can be a very devastating accident. Most of the time, you nick a finger, or you can cut a finger off in about a microsecond with it. It will flat take it off. But most of the time, people just slip in and they might cut halfway through a finger or something like that, which isn't something that can't be fixed without problems. And so with that in mind, never forget just to operate slow. Think about what you're doing. Try to keep your hand out of line with the blade, and you're going to really like this tool. I hope you liked this video. If you did, click the like button and subscribe to the channel.